All right, welcome in, boys. Another episode of Take It to the Bank, the only NASCAR podcast I think worth watching on Earth, but I could be wrong. I'm your host, Jay Paglia. With me, as always, Reed Cooper, my NASCAR partner in crime. Coop, another week, another profitable Sunday. So it was a good week last week.
Yeah, it was a good week. It was a little disappointing, but it was good overall.
I mean, listen,
It could have been better.
if that caution, I did the math, right? If that late caution doesn't come out, we make about I would have made about 2 units. Because that late caution came out, we got Cindric at 25-1, and I ended up making like 7.5 units total on the race. So I think it was better that happened to us personally.
I wasn't referring to that.
Oh, why? What were you referring to?
Chandler Smith.
Oh, Chandler Smith. Yeah. I thought you were going to get us home with 8 laps to go, and then his car fell off a cliff and Austin Hill came. But we got the chicken on Austin Hill at 14-1.
Yeah, made some money on it, but
yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, so last week, what did we cash? We got the top 4 on Cindric home. We got Bubba Wallace top 5 home at 6-1. We got Kyle Larson won that group at 3-1, and
we got Willie B.
Willie B. Yeah, Willie B. was an outright hedge, so we didn't get killed in that market. But yeah, all in all, solid week, right? What were your takeaways from Vegas?
My biggest takeaway was going into the race after watching the Xfinity race and the truck race. I thought there would be more tire wear. There wasn't as much tire wear in the Cup race. And, when I did the DFS show last week, I said, Harvick, Hamlin, Truex, the drivers that, run long runs will be good. But if you think it's going to be not as much tire wear, but still some long runs, I think you want to hit on Byron, Bowman, and Bubba. So, I had it pegged right both ways. Unfortunately, I had more invested in the longer run cars than the, shorter ones that I said. So it is what it is. Something I'll remember for next year in the fall. The other thing, too, is, it wasn't as warm, so that could have had something to do with the tire wear not being as dramatic on Sunday. So, I don't know. We'll see. It is what it is.
So, the good news is tires are not blowing out and engines are not blowing up all that much so far this year compared to last year.
So far, they're not. So, I mean, if you look at the last 3.5-mile track races from last year and then, the one we had this year, they've been, quite different than the ones we saw early last year.
Definitely.
Run fairly green.
Definitely. So something you just said is something we wrestle with every week, short run versus the long run. And that's definitely going to come into effect this week. Definitely. So we're at Phoenix, 1 mile oval, our first short track of the year, right? I think it's almost as important as the first short track race last year with the next gen cars when they were brand new, because they revamped the aero package. Now there's about 30% less downforce. The spoilers look basically non-existent on the back of the cars. And, looking at practice, we did see Ford run well, but we also saw Chevy run well in practice. So what's your thoughts on the aero package? You think it's going to play a bigger part in tomorrow's race than people think it will?
I don't know if it's going to play a big part. we'll see. Denny Hamlin, was interviewed, and he seemed to like it a lot, based upon what they showed yesterday in practice. I mean, the ultimate goal for NASCAR is to have longer runs and have them tires, drop off, because when they do, it makes you use braking more. It makes the cars wiggle more. It makes them tougher to drive more. So that's really what they want. And, I think they've kind of hit on that a little bit. I still think we're going to see a lot of the same drivers that did well here in the past do well here again tomorrow. But, we'll see. I think Chevy wasn't very impressive, if you ask me, overall, though.
Wow.
You get rid of HMS, and they were horrible, to be quite frank.
Right, but I mean, I was really talking about Hendrick, really. Although, biggest disappointment, I shouldn't say this because Chastain never really looks good until the race. But, I mean, he was a top 2 car both races at Phoenix last year. And he did not look good in practice at all.
Yeah, I think he looked a little worse than what you might want him to look. Same with Kyle Busch yesterday. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting because, HMS got their louvers confiscated and now they got to put new ones on. NASCAR didn't like the look of them.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to tell, today from qualifying if it makes a difference or not. We'll just have to wait for the race. Looking around on Twitter, I've been trying to find out, if that really affects the aero or not. And I really haven't heard much, discussion about it as to how it will affect the cars. I did have one guy I found that said he thought it would affect quite a bit, but I mean, I have no idea who the guy is or, what he does or what his word means.
So historically, Ford and Gibbs have really owned this track, right? They, especially in the spring, they've won about half of the last 10 races at Phoenix, Ford. And since the 2016 fall race, Chevy has only won 2 of the 13 races here at Phoenix. So it's basically Ford and Toyota dominant. You see that changing outside of Hendrick tomorrow?
No, I don't. I'm not even sure Hendrick's going to be in at the end. So I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I really think it's Ford and a couple of Toyotas.
Ford and a couple Toyotas. Yeah, I think Kyle Larson's really, really, really good. He looked really good, but I don't disagree with you. So the comps, when we're looking at this track, right? What did you look at? Basically, Richmond, Loudon, Gateway.
Nashville a little bit. Really Loudon and Nashville, since they're more comparable from a size perspective than what Martinsville and Richmond are.
So those are the comps. As far as the tire wear, all in all, I think Goodyear has used this tire in 6 races, right? Yeah, twice at Phoenix, twice at Richmond, and then Loudon and Gateway. So we do have some data on how we think that the tires will transition this year, right?
Yeah, the one thing we don't know is how they hold up in this package, though.
Right. True.
Right. Because last year, part of going to this package was because we didn't see any tire fall off on the short tracks last year. And that's what they want to create. And, looks like they have, early to this point created that fall off.
In terms of track position, right? You and we talked about it for a couple minutes yesterday, but I think track position is pretty important here. I think historically it has not been very easy to pass here. But you think it might be a little bit easier than it has been in the past?
Yeah, I mean, if you can put down a good, really long run car, I mean, I think you can go from 15th to the top 5 after 40, 45, 50 laps, somewhere in that ballpark. So, I think it's still important. But I think maybe with what we're seeing, maybe it's a little less important.
I also think that looking at the practice times yesterday and the lap averages, that I think I agree with you based on what we saw on cars that went long, 25, 30. You can definitely start to see some drivers losing the edge on their tires, and other guys just start rising to the top. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe tires will play a bigger role here Sunday than it has the last couple of years.
I mean, I think they're going to have to run 60 laps on these tires. That's what the first stage is, and then they're going to probably split stages 2 and 3 down the middle, which I think is 65, somewhere in that ballpark, 62, 63.
So in January, they tested here, and there were 7 drivers that tested. Jimmy Johnson doesn't count. He's not racing, right? So the 6 drivers were Bell, Chastain, Jones, Keselowski, Logano, and Stenhouse. And Chris Bell looked good in practice. And I will say, our guy, Ricky Stenhouse, who I happen to have money on to win the chip this year because I'm an idiot, he didn't look bad. Do you think the cars that tested here in January have any type of edge tomorrow?
That's hard to tell. I mean, based upon what we saw in practice, I would say no. But, I think the other piece we saw that is hurting them, I think, is, they said the temperature was like 50, something like that in the test, and now it's around 75, 80. So big temperature difference. So I don't know. It's all irrelevant now that practice is done and over with.
So I've been getting a lot of questions, and I wanted to address this lately about why I have so much pre-race action this year and the second half of last year compared to 4 or 5 years ago when I was doing the show and people were watching. And I do think that the reason for me is it's a very weird time right now for NASCAR betting. The last 2 years, especially, for a couple reasons. One, the prices that we are getting on drivers are better the last couple years because the Cup Series is wide open. There are over a half dozen race teams now that can compete for a win on any given week. And it hasn't been like that in a long time. Hendrick dominated for a couple years. Before that, it was the big 3 at Gibbs and Kevin Harvick for a few years. Before that, it was Jimmy Johnson, right, for a decade. So the outright market are as good as it's been, I think, in quite some time, and props as well. But that collides with an in-game market that is consistently getting tighter and tighter because they are dropping in-race numbers at an escalated rate, and they are cutting laps off the end of the race every single year for us to get down late. So the books want you betting more on pregame action right now than the in-game market. And it's becoming more and more important, I think, to find a happy balance between both. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely with that. I'm not going to spend much time on it. It is what it is. I mean, we can't control it. We just got to find ways to win and continue to win. And so far we are. So.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's look at the odds. Kyle Larson is your odds-on favorite. We got him at the best price possible at 9-1 yesterday. He was the fastest car in practice in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 lap average. But keep in mind that the 30 lap, the 25 lap, and the 20 lap, I mean, cars, there was about half the field, if that ran 20 consecutive laps yesterday. But of the cars that did, he looked very, very, very good. He is now 5-1, which I couldn't believe, to be honest, before qualifying. I thought he might be 5-1 by the time the race started, but I can't believe he's 5-1 already. Obviously, if you haven't gotten on him, you would agree, Coop, you can't get on him now.
No, I definitely wouldn't be getting on him right now. I don't know if we talked about it in chat or if we talked about it on a show or whatever, but I think, is Kyle Larson a good manager of tires on long runs, or is Kyle Larson a good driver of long runs up against a wall? So I don't think we really know the true answer to that. And I'm still a little hesitant on believing Kyle Larson is a good manager of tires on long runs.
That's fair. I'll buy that.
There's no way you cannot deny that he's a good driver up against the wall.
Well, he's the best, I think, really. I mean, him and Tyler Reddick right now in the series. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I agree with you. I do think, based on what we saw in practice, if you were watching the odds, you had to take that 9-1, and you just put it in your back pocket, and whatever happens, happens.
I guess what I'm saying is I would not be surprised once we get to lap 35, 40, 45, 50 on a long run if Kyle Larson falls, to third, fourth, or fifth place.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That could definitely happen. After that, Penske, the talk of the week, everybody's been talking about Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano, but really Ryan Blaney. Now, I don't know how long it's been since his last win, Coop, how long the streak has been, but what we do know for sure is that since the last time he's won a race, he has had the best car in the race probably a dozen times, and he has yet to find victory lane. He just can't get there. Is he going to be good here? Yes. Was he the best car here last year in both races? Yes. Does that mean he will win tomorrow? No. He looked phenomenal in practice also, but he just cannot crack that victory lane. He just can't do it. So you expect Penske to be strong. Blaney is 7-1. Logano is 8-1. Your thoughts on the two big guys at Penske?
Yeah, I mean, I think on a short run, they're going to be much better. I think on the longer runs, we could see, maybe what happened last week. And they're just right around top 10 cars. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's like I said, Joey showed really good speed last year on high tire wear tracks, but, there were a lot of cautions that didn't allow the cars to run 30, 40, 45 laps. And that might have, flawed his numbers. And, Blaney, he's never really been a great long run car when it comes to managing tires. So, no way I'm going to bet him. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if they finish in the 10th position-ish, somewhere in there. So that's my thoughts on them. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. I think, best for them, they get a late race caution, and they're, somewhere up in the front.
You feel the same way for Logano as well?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. After that, I'm just looking at DK odds right now for everybody listening. After that is Chris Bell. Now, Coop. If I told you the three Gibbs drivers that I like this week, neither of them are Truex or Hamlin. I don't know how
I kind of had the same feeling as what I did last week about Truex and Hamlin. They were two of those cars that really didn't run a lot of laps, consecutively.
Right.
So they obviously weren't extremely happy with their car. They had to come in and, adjust and fix and so on and so forth. But, I wouldn't be surprised if they're there at the end, because especially if it is long runs that matter, and especially if tires do wear. So I'm not completely out on them. I'm not going to bet anything on them pre-race. It'll be a live look.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I don't think they're dead, but I think if you're asking me who are the Toyota drivers that I like, it would be probably Bell, Reddick, and even Bubba, I think, has a shot to run decent here tomorrow.
I mean, I still don't
settle
believe
down
Bubba's
on the
very
Bubba
good
hate.
on long runs.
You only like Bubba Wallace when he's paying you out at 100 to 1. All right? Why don't you settle down on your Bubba Wallace hate, Coop? All right. So
I got him at 75 too last year.
Yeah, I know, bro. I was on the ride with you. So after Chris Bell is Kevin Harvick. Another big thing people were talking about this week was
that's all you. Is that all of the Toyotas you're going to talk about?
Well, I'm just going down the odds board. I just
wanted to make sure.
Yeah. All right. So after that, Kevin Harvick 9-1.
What do you really think Bell can win?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
Because you really mentioned him, but you really didn't say much about him.
I don't know yet. I think I think he has a shot to run well. I wouldn't bet him pre-race, but I could see you and I getting on him tomorrow if he looks good.
Yeah.
I will say I think the one mistake that we made last Sunday, was actually getting on him live, which was my fault because I was the one that said it. But I would have took that unit back if I could have. But I think he's got a chance. I think he's got a chance to run really well tomorrow. We'll see.
Okay. I think he's running well on flat tracks in general.
Kevin Harvick. Everybody was talking about Ford, whether it was Penske or Stewart-Haas, right? He looked very good here last year, and he looked very good in practice. He's just really, really good on these type of tracks. What I don't like about him is the price. I have no problem getting on Stewart-Haas cars this week, but man, 9-1 is a short price on Harvick, Coop.
You can get him at 10-1.
Would you take him at 10-1?
If I were to add another driver to my betting card, it would be Kevin Harvick.
That's kind of where I'm at, but man, at 10-1.
10-1. I mean, based upon what I saw yesterday,
he's got a top 5 car, definitely.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah. But man, 10-1, you're gonna have to talk me off.
He's in the weaker qualifying group.
Yeah.
So I do think he's going to qualify in the top 12. He could get into that top 10, and then maybe he finishes 7th or 8th, or surprises in 3rd or 4th in qualifying.
Yeah, you could be right.
I could see that number going down.
I think it has gone. I mean, what did you see him at this week? 16-1, I think I saw.
No, I think the best I saw was 12.
No, I definitely had one place that had over 12.
No, he was pretty tight the whole week.
10-1 is short, man. I don't know if I can get there. We'll see. After that, Denny Hamlin, we touched on him. He's 10-1. Will Byron also 10-1. I mean, he didn't look bad in practice. I don't really know. I don't know if he's going to have the car to get the job done, but he didn't
look bad in practice. But I think what we were expecting to happen to Will Byron last week will happen this week. I think those tires will fall off, and I think he will fall back because once I think lap 30 and on is where Willie B is going to struggle.
Yeah, that's the only thing that sucks about practice is like you never get to see a long run during practice. 30 laps is not even the start of a long run, really. So
yeah, but I mean, unless they're on a half a mile track, they're not going to run more than 30.
No, I know. So after him, Marty, we touched on him. Kyle Busch, 12-1. What do you think?
No interest.
After Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, 15-1. Man, based on how he looked last year, he was the second best car in both races, no doubt. So I don't know what to think. You always tell me he doesn't practice and qualify that well. He's always better come race time. That price isn't bad, but
if you look at his record last year, he did qualify a little bit better on the shorter tracks than the larger tracks. So that's why it's even more concerning for me.
So you think he could qualify well?
No, I think his car's shit.
Yeah, he didn't look good. He didn't look good.
I don't have no interest in him whatsoever.
That price isn't bad. After him, Alex Bowman, 18-1. I'll be honest, Coop. Our 30-1 future on him to win the chip doesn't look that bad right now. He looks very good to start the year.
Yeah. I think he was right around 10th, 12th, 13th on the longer runs. So
yeah,
he was a step behind his teammates of Larson and Byron. He's had some success here, but I think he's had more, not good races here than good races.
Yeah, I'll buy that. After Bowman, Chase Briscoe, big week for Chase Briscoe. If he doesn't run well here, I'm not optimistic about his year at all.
I would completely agree with you. But he's another one of them drivers that I would put in the Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex mold, where he didn't run a lot of laps in practice. And the laps that he did run, like they weren't, phenomenal, but they weren't like Ross Chastain and Kyle Busch disgusting type of laps.
Yeah.
So, I could see him, doing well. So definitely someone I'll keep my eye on.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally. Got to keep your eye on him early. I think that Haas is going to be good, real good. After him, Tyler Reddick. Yesterday, Coop and I were talking, and within a 5-second span, I wrote, Coop, Tyler Reddick is a sneaky play this week. And 5 seconds later, Coop said, we have to bet Tyler Reddick. And when that happens, magic happens. So I'm feeling very good about our guy, Tyler Reddick, this week. He was the best long-run car, no doubt, in practice by a mile. 20-1. Yeah. You like him. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they would have ran 35, 40, 45, 50 laps, he would have easily passed Larson, caught Larson. And, it's kind of hard if you really look at, like, how much time he lost on, like, a 5-lap run to a 25-lap run compared to Larson. He lost significantly less, but he wasn't as fast in them early laps as, like, what Larson was, so there was more fall-off for Larson. But, yeah, definitely I like Tyler Reddick based upon what he showed yesterday. And, he had a very fast car last week, and he climbed up to the top 15 very quickly, but then he kind of plateaued right around there. And we know, Tyler can be the same book as what Larson is. Is he really good at running the wall, or is he really good at saving the tire? And
whichever it was,
I think he's a little bit better at saving the tire, but we'll wait and see. I like him.
Yeah, so Coop and I are on Tyler Reddick for a unit at 20-1. We're on Kyle Larson for a unit at 9-1. And we did bet one more driver. We'll get to that. What I like about I feel better going into this week, Coop, than I did last week. Well, I like if this race goes the way you and I think it will go, which sometimes it doesn't with the volatility in NASCAR. I think we're set up well for the short run and the long run should there be a late caution. I think Kyle Larson was definitely the fastest car on the short run in practice, right? And depending if Joey and Blaney are up there, they can obviously contend during a late caution, right? But I like where we're at. After Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace 25-1. I wouldn't bet him to win the race, but I think he could hit the top 10. Any thoughts?
I don't know. I'm still going to stick with my thought that Bubba is not a great tire wear driver yet. He's better than what he was, but he's not great by any means.
After Bubba, Daniel Suarez, the other Trackhouse car, who looked better in practice, I think, than Chastain.
Yeah.
40-1. What do you think?
I mean, Daniels had 3 good solid races from a finish perspective. And then, we know at Fontana, he was very good from a speed perspective. So, that's very good for Suarez because, I mean, the knock on him was, he had some good, equipment last year in races, but, he struggled to finish some of them races. So, it's a good start for him. He's another driver I just don't think of when it comes to managing tires, though.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think he's another car that could definitely crack the top 10 this week. After him, Brad Keselowski, 50-1. Keselowski's at Roush, right? Still?
He's at Roush, Fenway, Keselowski.
Is it really Roush, Fenway, Keselowski now?
Man, it's been like that since the beginning of last year.
It will always be Roush to me. Always. It will never. I'm not a Boston Red Sox fan. Okay. 50-1. He's in a Ford. I don't know what he's another car that could crack the top 10 this week. What do you think about?
Yeah, I like him as a top 10 bet.
Yeah, I don't disagree. After him, Austin Cindric, 60-1. That's the third Penske car. I don't really have interest. I'm happy he got the top Ford for us last week, but I'm not running to the window to bet him this week at 60-1. Agree?
Nope. No, definitely not.
All right, Eric Almirola.
Stop. Start over. Say it like you mean it with some excitement in your voice.
Eric Almirola, 66-1. Some people got him at 80-1 because, they don't live in as good of a state as Jersey, but 66-1. Coop likes him. Coop thinks he was the second best long run speed in the practice session yesterday. Out of respect for Coop, I hit the button at 66-1 for a half unit. Talk about Eric Almirola this week, Coop.
I mean, if you look at flat tracks, and you look at long run speed, managing tires, if you look at being able to, find a groove, which is what's important this week, find a rhythm, which is what's important this week, this is right up Almirola's ballpark. And I think, he will be a contender, especially if we get long runs. And his numbers showed yesterday that he's going to have a good long run car. And I have more confidence in Almirola being at the end of a long run in the top 3, 4, 5 than Kyle Larson on a flat track.
So here's my question, though. Do you think I asked you earlier today, what's the caution average at Phoenix? Do you think that this is going to end on a long run? That's the big question for him, because if it doesn't, he's cooked.
Yeah, no idea.
8-1, 8-1 to hit the top 5.
Yeah, I have that written down.
That's not a bad price.
Yeah.
All right, so past Almirola, Coop and I have no interest. I don't know I don't know what's going to happen with Prerace or Chris Buescher, but I don't really have any interest in them. All right, so top 3 market. Did you see anything that you like?
The only top 3s I wrote down were none.
Man, I don't see anything I like. I mean, no, not really. Maybe Tyler Reddick at 6-1. That's not bad, but no. All right, top 5 market. What do you like?
I have 3 drivers written down: Harvick 140, Reddick 300, Almirola 800.
God, that is such a short price on Kevin Harvick to hit the top 5.
Really, you should see Kyle Larson's.
Yeah, I know he's minus 160. I mean, we were betting him what, a year ago to hit the top 10 at
like
plus
250, 300. Oh, no, top 5, 250, 300.
Yeah, I mean, that is so they are really making you pay for it this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree with you though. If I was going to pick 3 drivers, those would be the 3 drivers. I think Kevin Harvick's debatable, but definitely the other 2. Top 10 market. You see anything you like?
But again, like, you're only debating them because of the number.
Yeah.
I think
not the fact that I don't think
Kevin Harvick's a much better lock than a Reddick or Amarola to get a top 5.
I agree with you, but we don't bet. You're in the end, you're always betting the number. In sports,
right? But didn't you just send me a DM like last week before or something?
That said, we have to start considering.
I think we need to start being a little bit more, not as number oriented on our top 5s.
I did say that. Yeah, I did say that to you last week. I did. I said I think we have to adjust the floor of where we would our entry points in the top 5 market. Yeah, I did say that. So yeah, okay, cool. All right. Using my own words against me. I got nothing. All right.
I just wanted to remind you.
No, you're right. You're right. I don't know. You're right. So the top 10 market, did you see anything that you like?
I got 3 written down.
Are they the same
Amarola,
one?
No. Amarola 300, Kozlowski 300, Bushler 430.
I don't mind those 3. We're definitely not getting I know Almirola was plus 430, right? To crack the top 10 earlier in the week.
I mean, he's in the tougher qualifying group of the 2, in my opinion. Amarola's laid down some fast laps though, at select qualifying. So I wouldn't be shocked if he starts in the top 10. But based upon who he's up against and things of that nature, I would probably lean that he starts maybe 12th, 14th, 16th, 18th.
Where do you see those numbers?
What number?
That you just talked about, the top 10s. What
book they're on FanDuel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the only one I see top 10s on now, to be honest with you.
Barstool has top 10s.
I doubt they're as good as those. Could be wrong, though.
No, they're not. Almirola is plus 220. Buscher's plus 260. Keselowski plus 180.
What's the best number you've seen on Harvick?
To hit the top 10?
Yeah.
Like minus 176, I think, early in the week, I want to say.
Not gonna bet it.
Am I gonna bet it, Coop? So listen, I gave out 1 PSA this week. Has Kevin Harvick hit the top 10 in 9 straight races at Phoenix? This would be 10 in a row, I think. Yes, he has. But we don't lay minus 180 in NASCAR. And if you're doing that and listening to somebody, you are betting this sport wrong. There is way too much volatility in this sport to lay 180 ever in your entire life. So that's my 1 PSA this week. Do not bet that top 10. Now I see him minus 225.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far off topic, but I do have a question. When you see people out there betting 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 5 units on a play, 1 play.
Yeah.
Not necessarily 2, but 3, 4, or 5. Because every once in a while you do see people going for 2 units. It's not out of the question.
Yeah.
But 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
Like, do they need to adjust their unit price? or are they just going like
I mean,
heavy in on?
is it like, here's the question: is it a tout, or is it just a normal person?
I mean, you see it on Twitter, so you know.
Yeah, you see that from a lot of touts: 5 unit max bomb, 10 unit max bomb, 3, 4, 5. I mean, those are just people that I would never consider tailing in my entire life, because at the end of the day, man, if you're betting 5 units of play in NASCAR or any sport, number one, you can lose your entire bankroll in a week if that week doesn't go your way. In the end, it all comes down to bankroll management. You should only be betting 1 unit on a play, really. If that's what we do. I mean, if we absolutely love something, maybe we'll throw an extra half unit on it or a unit, but I can't even take those people seriously. I can't. Like, they just
But
don't know how
do
to
you
bet
do
on
you think
sport.
what do you think? Do you think it's just that their unit money number is too low, or do you just think they're trying to, like you said, like make it
I
look?
I think touts are trying. I think touts are trying to sell plays, and I think recreational bettors don't have a fundamental understanding of real bankroll management. Like, the average play that you should make should be between 1.5 and 2.5% of your entire bankroll. That's your average play for a full unit. That's what it should be. So I think recreational bettors would have to learn about bankroll management, and yes, probably change their unit size. And I think that touts that are doing that are just fucking idiots that don't know what they're doing. That's basically what I think there. All right, moving on. Teams. I bet Penske early in the week at 4-1 just to back myself up, because I did not want to bet them in the outright market, and I knew I was not going to bet them unless we absolutely had to on Sunday. So I threw that ticket in my back pocket only because I wanted to try to beat them, and I used it as a hedge. But that aside, did you see any prices on teams that you were interested in?
No, I mean I haven't had any team bets to be available yet because I didn't have that available for me at Barstool.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't bet it. Your buddy Bet Fred has some listed, but they're whited out, grayed out, whatever you want to call it. So I haven't been able to look at either of those. At the beginning of the week, I said I wanted to be very disciplined and not bet, until I saw practice, and that's what I ended up doing. Um, so I'm happy from that perspective. I still think we got some decent numbers to better numbers than what we might have thought. And, I'm glad I didn't, pull the trigger early, uh, like some people did on Blaney's and Logano's and, Chastain's and things of that nature.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Groups. I think the groups are actually pretty tough this week. Tougher than normal. Don't you?
Well, again, I don't have a lot of groups available from what I've seen. Very limited. I only had one written down, and that was Eric Amarola at plus 325 on Barstool over Kez, Wallace, and Priest.
Yep, I'm looking at that now. Yeah, I don't mind that. Adam was talking about that last night. I didn't mind it.
But after qualifying and once everything's released, I'll do another deep dive on the groups and see what we can come up with. Because like I said, I just didn't see a lot. The one thing I got to be careful though, again, is three names have come up here quite often, and I don't want to go all in on those three drivers of Harvick, Amarola, and Reddick. I just got to figure out what's the best way to bet the props on them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I do think that they're going to change at least some of them after qualifying. So we might get a couple new groups that we didn't have pre P&Q. Top Toyota, top Chevy, top Ford. Was there anything that you liked?
I haven't seen it all week.
Really?
360. I don't have it on Barstool.
Was that the only spot that had them?
I haven't seen that on 365 yet.
Not Caesars?
I think Caesars did, but nothing really, stuck out to me, put it that way.
Yeah, the prop prices I think are a little tight this week, at least before qualifying. We'll see what shakes loose after.
I mean, do you think they're going to change much between now and qualifying?
I don't know. I think they could. I think the wild card is how the sports books treat this new package. That's what I didn't know. I didn't really know how they would treat it. I just guessed.
So if Larson goes out and lays a dud and qualifies 8th or 7th, and Logano and Blaney qualify 1st and 2nd, are their numbers flip-flopped?
Yeah, well, maybe not flip-flopped, but they will change, definitely.
Who do you think will be favored?
Blaney, probably. If Blaney gets the pole, I think he'll be probably exactly what Kyle Larson is, probably. If Blaney could get the pole. Yeah. And right now Larson is 5.5 to 1. If he qualifies 10th, he could go to 6 to 1. And then they're right there. So I would say, yeah, it's possible. Did you see any matchups that you liked?
Nope.
I didn't.
We haven't to the point in matchups unless it's 105 or less, minus 105 or less. Like I just scroll. I don't even want to think about it. Because this year, and maybe it's just, it is what it is, but I think that there's more matchups this year where the drivers are minus 110 against each other or minus 115 against each other. Where I think in the past, you might have seen like minus 115 to minus 105 or minus 110 to plus money.
Right.
Even money or whatever. So I think that's one way the books are fighting back at trying to make sure that they, get some juice is, making sure that, both of the drivers are minus numbers.
There was one matchup that I saw. I forget what the site was, but it was Chase Briscoe was like plus 125 against Byron. I don't mind that.
Chase Briscoe plus 125 against Byron. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't know if I have enough confidence in Chase Briscoe to.
Man, if he's going to run well this year, isn't it going to be here?
Yeah, it is. It is.
But yeah, I mean, I don't bet matchups really. You've probably since you've known me, I bet maybe 3. So, but
we do it every once in a while, but not often. So, yeah. But I mean, like the favorite one that I've seen is grayed out on Betfred. And, I can't blame him for having it grayed out. It's Ryan Preece minus 120 against Eric Almirola plus 100. Like, if that were to come live at that number, I would definitely bet Almirola. But I don't expect it to come live at that number.
If Betfred doesn't get in the state, I might have to leave the state. I might have to move.
Yeah. Now, there's one right here on Betfred. The groups have opened up on Betfred. Almirola plus 240 against Cindric, Preece, and Dillon. I like that.
Almirola plus 240 against Cindric, Preece, and Dillon. Yeah, I think I have that. I think I have that same group. I don't mind it. But like you said, if we're going to take them the top 10 and we already have them to win, I'm not looking to get killed if Eric Almirola hits the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So they opened up the team betting on Betfred too. I guess the first one that sticks out in my mind is Stuart Haas plus 600. Because, I mean, Harvick could win, I think. Almirola could win. Briscoe, he's a wild card. But I think if you really look at it, Stuart Haas has more drivers who could win than what Hendrick does.
I agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
Than what Penske does. Than what RCR, Trackhouse. The only one that maybe can compete with him is Gibbs.
I think you and I hate on Penske a little bit too much sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, Cindric's not winning. It's either Blaney or Logano.
Yeah, and Blaney hasn't won a race since I was like 14. So,
yeah. But I think the 600 number on Stuart Haas is fair. Give you 3 drivers.
Yeah, I got like 5.5 to 1. I don't mind that. I don't mind that bet.
No, I'm not going to bet it right yet, but we'll see.
Aside from that, my friend, I think that's it. We'll just recap what we're on so far. I have not bet a top 5 or a top 10 yet. Coop has not bet a top 5 or a top 10 yet. As far as the outright market, we're on Kyle Larson at 9 to 1. You're not going to get him at that price. I would hope that at some point during the race, I don't know, his pit crew shits the bed and he's at the tail end of the lead lap and they change the price. At that point, maybe you can get on him. Aside from him, though, we are on Tyler Reddick at 20 to 1 and Eric Almirola at 80 to 1 if you have Betfred, 66 to 1 if you have Bet 365. I don't think I have bet. I have that Team Penske bet at 4 to 1 to protect myself earlier in the week. So that's it. Check the site. And if you're not in the Sports Keg Discord, get there. I just tweeted out a link. Honestly, if you like money, get in the Discord. The website's up 50 units in 3 months. And all we do is talk about sports betting every day, all day. Every sport has a room. So head over to our Twitter account at the SportsKeg_, get in the Discord, and then just check the site for whatever plays that we end up being on after qualifying. Oh, one quick thing. The Xfinity race, Coop and I have bet a couple plays. We took John Hunter Nemechek at 5 to 1, and we took Sammy Smith for 5.40, and we took Sammy Smith at 18 to 1 for a half unit, and we took his top 3 and top 5 at plus 185 and plus 430 for a quarter unit each. And if Austin Hill wins this race today, I'm not going to talk to Coop for a week. So that's where we're at there. That's it, Coop. We got an exciting weekend ahead, buddy. We're going to be live all night long.
Did you see Austin Hill got the pole?
Shut up.
Just messing with you.
Oh my God, that would have made me sick. We'll be live all night long.
Did you head snap pretty quick?
I did, yeah, it did. We'll be live from 3:00 on all night. Me, Johnny, Yeg, live for the Xfinity race, live for UFC Fight Night. And then tomorrow at 3:30, Coop and I will be live doing what we do, picking winners and making money. So for Coop, for myself, we'll see you guys next week. Later.